Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this video, we are going to learn how to perform a regression analysis. And for this, we're going to use the data that is in Blackboard titled Sales Advertising Data. So as you see, the data is open in front of us in the screen. First, we're going to maximize these columns to make sure that we can see the data properly. The first thing we're going to do is create a chart putting the revenue and the advertising expenses in X and Y axis. The reason why we're doing this is we want to know if we spend more money in advertising, does our revenue increase? So we're going to perform a regression analysis. But before we do that, we want to plot the two data sets for advertising and revenue in a scattered plot to make sure that visually we can see whether the increase in advertising actually increases revenue. So we go to Insert and we go to Charts. Before that, we want to highlight the data. So we highlight from C1 all the way down to D37, and then we go to Insert and we go to Charts, and we want to select this one that says XY Scatter. So we click that and we want to click the left one here. We click OK. So now we have this scatter chart and we want to put a line to see if we can put a linear line to show the relationship. As you can see here, when the advertising increases, you also see the revenues increasing. So we have these dots. For example, here, the advertising is above 35,000 and the revenue is about 20 million. So if you keep increasing the advertising, the revenue increases. What we want to do here is we want to put a line to see if we can put a line to explain this relationship in a linear way. So we go to the top left and it says quick layout on the top left. Click that and select the third one. This third one, if you click the third layout, you see a dotted line that explains this relationship. Okay, now we want to perform a statistical analysis, a regression analysis using the two variables. Our independent variable here is the advertising expense, and our dependent variable here is the revenues. So we go to data on top, and then we go to data analysis, and this window opens, and we scroll down and we select regression, and we click OK. And for Y range, we're going to select the revenue. So we come, while our cursor is blinking here in the box that says input Y range, we come to the revenue column and we click the first box D1 and we press and hold the shift button and we drag our mouse all the way down to the end. So we have selected this. Then for the X, we want the advertising. So again, we bring our mouse to this box that says X, input X range, and we highlight the same way the C1 all the way down to C37. Okay, and then we want to click this box in this window that says labels. We want to leave the other things alone. We don't want any, we don't want to click any one of these. And we now click OK. Now this gives us the regression results in a separate sheet. So let's maximize these columns so that we can see the numbers properly. Okay, now before we move on, let's just label our two sheets. The first one, we want to label it as chart, and the second one we want to label it as regression. Okay, now we come back here. Okay, so we want to maximize these columns so that we can look at the descriptions clearly and fully. Okay, so the numbers that are of interest to us are as follows. The first number that we want to look at is this significance of f. Now this number, as you see, it says 1.8877e to the power 14, negative 14. So we want to look at a 4-digit number after the decimal. So let's format this. We format this cell, and we want to go to number, and we want to make the decimal points 4 digits. We click OK. So as you see, this number is 0.0000 something. Okay, let's highlight this number. So what does this number tell us? The significance of the F statistic being very low, way below 0, tells us that there is 0 possibility that the revenue is an independent variable. Meaning when this number is 0, that means there is a high probability, right, that the revenue can be explained with another independent variable. So this is what we want. So we can write this description for your future reference. You can type here 0 probability that revenue is an independent variable. In other words, you can explain revenue with another variable. Okay, our next statistic of interest is this adjusted R-square. So let's highlight that. The adjusted R-square tells us this number is between 0 and 1. If this number is 0, that means the model that we have, we're trying to prove that increasing advertising increases the revenue. If this number is 0, that means our model is invalid. There is no explanation that we can provide by increasing advertising, revenue will increase. We cannot make that claim. And if this number is 1, that means this is perfect, that advertising 100% explains the increase in revenue. And as you see, the number is 0.82, which is very high. That means our model is very good. We have a high probability, right, 82%, that advertising actually explains the revenue. Increasing advertising will increase revenue. So let's write it here, this logic for our future reference. If 0, then the model is invalid. What is the model? The model is the relationship between advertising and revenue. Advertising being the independent variable and revenue being the dependent variable. And if this is 1, then the model is perfect. And our model is pretty good because it's 0.82, which is 82%. Okay. Now we have the model. Now the next statistic that we are interested in is the t statistic and the p-value of the t statistic. So let's highlight these two. The p-value, let's do the same thing. Let's format this, and we want the number, and we want, let's say, 4 decimal points. Click OK. All right, now we have 0.0000. It's this p-value, which means we have a very high confidence level. So if the p-value is 0.05, the confidence level is 95. That means we are very confident that the advertising actually explains. But what about this statistics? this t-stat. We want this number, the t-stat, to be 2 or above, right? So, and we have 12. So if we have the t-stat equal to or greater than 2, then the independent variable explains the, or we should write the independent variable is related positively to the dependent variable. So this number is greater than 2, and the probability of this p-value is very low, which means we are highly confident that the advertising actually explains the increase in revenue. Okay, so what I would like for you to do is take the data set and follow the instructions in this video and perform this exercise again, both for the chart and the regression.